All right, guys, let me give you a quick update of where we're at. All right, so I pulled the turbo out here, and as mentioned in a previous video, I need to clock turbo. So the first step for today is removing all these bolts right here. Hey, doctor.
Have to be really careful of that.
We'll go ahead and install the oil feed fitting on the top. I just tossed a little Teflon tape on the NPT fitting on the bottom side. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this up. All right, so now let's go ahead and add the oil drain. Unfortunately, I didn't really film it, but Mickey and I were able to get the transmission into the car. It is not bolted down right now completely. I have a couple bolts in, so right now I'm going around and I'm going to be installing all the bolts on there as well as the bolts on the transmission mount here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll set the camera down. You guys can watch. All right, I got the entire transmission all bolted in. Obviously, I haven't tightened this bracket now because I need to install the shifter linkage. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and install the slave cylinder here, just two 12mm bolts. All right, the slave cylinder is now mounted. The next thing to do is hook up the shifter linkage. So I already hooked up this portion of it, and the next step is reinstalling the bitch clips, as they're most commonly known as. I'm gonna see if I can show you guys, but it's gonna be very difficult to see. The moment of truth. Shifter linkage is all set up. Transmission is fully bolted down. Everything is tightened up. The slave cylinder is installed. Didn't break any of the seals or anything, so I don't know if I have to bleed the clutch, but we'll see. Hey, shifter feels pretty good now. New bushing. Woo, doctor. Clutch feels good too. That is awesome news. Everything feels fine. It shifts into all the gears. So it looks like the slave didn't fail. That was tough. Now there's still a ton of work to do. Before I do anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and do the third sequence for the ARP head studs. So I'm gonna tighten all the studs down to 85 foot-pounds of torque with Mickey's torque wrench. Go get some oil and put it on your finger, and you want to run it all the way around the entire valve cover gasket. That will help make sure it seals really nice. So I'm gonna go find some oil and we're gonna go ahead and do that. Valve cover gaskets are really annoying because they actually can leak a lot of oil onto the ground. And if you guys watch one of our previous videos, you see when I did the compression test, I took out the spark plugs. There was a ton of oil in my spark plugs, and that's because it leaked through here. So I'm glad I'm replacing these now. Hopefully that solves that issue completely.
Oh, but there's a black here.
There we go. Woo! Motor's sealed up for the first time in 2 weeks. All right, spent a few minutes just kind of mocking everything up. The turbo is bolted down. Woo! Oh, beautiful. And there actually is clearance here, so that's pretty sweet. So I'm gonna kind of mock up the downpipe. Let me go grab that. The downpipe is mocked up. It is definitely tight against this valve cover here, but once again, this turbo is not totally mounted. It's gonna be tight. So good thing I have some heat shield wrapping because there's going to be a lot of heat and the clearances are super, super tight everywhere. But we'll make everything work. As you can see down there, there's a V-band attachment and we will get that going all the way back to the Dynon exhaust. So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about all the remaining tasks that I have to do to complete the turbo kit. These aren't really in any particular order, but I figured I want to list everything out and then I can kind of divvy it up and figure out what I want to do each day. I got to finish installing the drive shaft. I need to check and add trans fluid if necessary. There is going to be a ton of heat in the engine bay now, so I have some awesome products from Heat Shield Products. In addition, I need to figure out the exhaust situation. So CX Racing provides a downpipe, but I want to connect that to the loud valves, which is the boost controlled solenoid that's going to open over 5 PSI and provide an exhaust cutout for me. And then after that, just a straight exhaust that's going to go right to the Dynon muffler. Start the installation of the intake manifold. So that's pretty easy, although you kind of rack your knuckles because there's a ton of vacuum lines and coolant hoses underneath that are a little hard to get to. Once the intake manifold is on, then it's time to start the fuel system. So I have those DW injectors I need to install, as well as a fuel pressure regulator, and then I need to go into the back seat, and underneath the, I believe it's passenger side, is the fuel pump. So I'm going to remove the stock fuel pump. I might have to modify the carrier a little bit, and then we're going to toss the DW fuel pump in there. Finishing off the interior, I have an AEM boost gauge that I'm going to be installing right next to my AEM wideband. I gotta finish up the oil feed and oil drain lines. I gotta just connect those. That should be pretty straightforward. As well as plumbing all the stuff for the external wastegate. The next thing I need to do is to start routing the intercore piping. And one thing I'm going to do that might be a little bit different than other people's is I'm going to try to weld the pieces together to reduce the number of couplers, rubber couplers that I have to use. Just historically and just based on my experience, whenever you have a boost leak or even sometimes total boost, failure, meaning the car's not boosting, it's typically because one of the intercooler couplers popped off. So I'm going to try to avoid that. I have an awesome welder here, Eric, who can help out if needed. But I'm going to try to do everything myself, but if I get in a jam, we'll see if Eric can help me out with that. To handle all the heat in the engine, I also have the CX Racing radiator to install with the fan shroud. So I'm excited to get that in, hopefully keep those engine temps down. And then the last few things here are pretty simple. I picked up RK Tunes OBD2 turbo setup, and I'm very excited to be working with Jordan. I'm really stoked to see how much power this thing can make. But it's a super easy process. I just have to install the mass airflow sensor as well as reflash the ECU with all the stuff provided. So I'll show you guys all that in the next couple videos here. Finally, I'm going to be checking all of the fluids, oil, coolant. I'll even check all the other fluids that I didn't mess with, but just make sure everything's topped off and looking nice right before the startup. Alright, so I think that is all the time I have for working on the M3 today. So if you like what you saw in this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel because tomorrow we're going to be doing some miscellaneous stuff, hopefully getting the intercore piping just about getting ready.
Hot and spicy for throtl.
Throttle's family-friendly channel.
It's not that they're family-friendly. They're meme haters. You see, they hate memes.
I feel like I wake up and my life is a meme sometimes, Calvin.
Hey man, you put that on yourself.
See, that's why you don't like memes, because you're triggered by memes, because your life is a meme. Like my life, but I enjoy my life as a meme.
Is there anything you want to say to Beckerman later?
Meme Anonymous, call 1-800-throtl.